So a few days ago we found out that Andy Anderson was officially on Etnies skate shoes. They did like this promo video with like, I think the founder of Etnies, and at the end the like owner of Etnies throws Andy Anderson these yellow looking like moon boot shoes, and so it appears that Andy Anderson is officially on Etnies, but that also he might be getting his own pro shoe unofficially. I've been seeing these yellow moon boot things, and like, no offense Andy or whoever designed them, but I've been seeing these crazy looking shoes on like Dan Corrigan's channel. Andy's been skating them for at least like a couple months now, so I've been scouring the internet to try and find good angles of the shoe so we can really dive in and inspect it, see what the shoe is all about. And I just want to talk about Andy Anderson's pro shoe and ask you the question: do you think that Andy Anderson deserves a pro skateboard shoe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So I've been hearing rumors about Andy Anderson being on flow for Etnies, and when he started wearing these yellow banana boat looking shoes like a couple months ago, I figured it was probably just like some weird prototype from Etnies. You know, like maybe they're doing like a throwback shoe, or I don't know. I was just trying to make sense of why Etnies would make such a bizarre looking shoe. But then the more I thought about it, the more it started to make sense. This has to be Andy Anderson's pro shoe, or at least a prototype. For me, it's like really bizarre and strange looking, but I think a lot of people reacted that same way to Andy Anderson's pro model board. I mean, the shape looks so crazy and random. It just looks like a bunch of Doritos got like taped together. Like there's just so many like harsh angles to it, and just by looking at it, you would have thought like, oh, like Powell's actually insane for making a board that looks like that. But then when Andy Anderson explained all the little details of like, well, this little angle is for tray flips and this one's for pressure flip, and this is so that you can do primos, and just like went behind the scenes and showed all the details and all the thought that went into it, I think it started to make people curious. Not only the thought process behind the shape, but also you look at Andy Anderson's skating, and I think it's more approachable to like a wider audience. Like I feel like Andy Anderson is kind of like a polarizing figure in the skateboard community, but outside the skateboard community, or people that are brand new to it, they all love Andy Anderson, to the point that Powell cannot keep Andy Anderson's board in stock. That's how well that it actually sells. So I mean, like it or hate it, Andy Anderson has carved out his own corner in the skateboard industry, and I know he doesn't look like it, but I think he's probably one of the highest paid pros as in terms of like board sales, which is crazy to think about because he got a pro board before he ever released any street footage, which is just another reason why I think he's so polarizing, and a lot of people might feel like he doesn't deserve all the recognition and all the hype that he's getting. But regardless of if you think he deserves it or not, if you just look at this from a business perspective, I think Etnies is hoping that Andy Anderson is going to create the Andy Anderson skateboard shape of skate shoes. Like, sure, the shoes look really, really bizarre, but so did his skateboard, and his skateboard is selling like crazy. It's something unique that really I don't think any other skateboard could make sell through, but because Andy Anderson is Andy Anderson, he's got like a cult following that's gonna support him with whatever he does, which gives him a lot of creative freedom, which is really, really cool. But I guess to me, it's like you took all that creative freedom and you made shoes that look like a banana peel. So let's talk about the shoes. Here's a few angles I've gotten of the shoes from videos and whatnot. There's no official photos of it, so it's just what you can find in videos, but I tried to find clips that had the shoes really close up and slow-mo them for you guys so you can actually see what's going on here. From what I can tell, the shoe looks like it's a hybrid of a cup sole and a vulcanized shoe, which I think is super sick. I'm really into the hybrid shoes, big fan of that, and it honestly resembles the Kyle Walker Pro 2s a lot because there are no visible laces. The difference is with the Kyle Walker Pro 2s, they use that strap that goes across that makes them look kind of like old man shoes, and with the Andy Anderson shoes, it looks like they've just got a big flap that goes across, but it still has laces so you can still cinch it down, which is cool because for people that like their shoes a bit tighter, they have options. But visually, I just feel like seeing that flap sticking up there, it looks so crazy. It's funny to watch the skateboard industry try and figure out a solution to like protecting your shoelaces, and this is like a constant like marketing point. Like over the last like 20 years, there's always a shoe that's like, we're gonna protect protect your laces like this. And I don't know if there's been a more convoluted lace protection system than this one that's on Andy Anderson's unofficial pro shoe. But I mean, you've got the ghillie lace system on the Nike SB Shanes. That works perfectly fine. You've got the double lace option on the Nike SB Dunks and on the Nike SB Ashad, where you can just lace it underneath. That works fine. It must come down to like patents or something, but I personally do not like the look or the design of this lace protection system that Andy Anderson and Etnies have come up with. However, I also didn't think his skateboard looked cool, but then when he has a chance to actually explain the thought process behind all the design choices, then it kind of piques my curiosity. So looking at it at face value, I don't really love the way that it looks, but I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Anderson had some really deep reason behind the way that he did it, which could end up kind of redeeming the ugliness of the shoe, in my opinion. I mean, I'll just come out and say I think the shoe is ugly. Despite the fact that overall I think the shoe looks bad, I do think that the toe cap does look like it's really got a good shape. Like, it's not too rounded, it's not too pointy, and it does look like it would have a really good flick. And it does look like they did some kind of combination of Volk and Cupsole, so it might have like a Volk flick on the toe, but it's really hard to tell from these videos. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see when like the official release happens. But I think that Etnies has done a really good job kind of like building hype. I think they know that Andy Anderson is constantly getting coverage from YouTubers as well as the Powell team manager, and so without telling anybody what they're doing, Andy has been wearing these bizarre looking shoes for, you know, months, quietly kind of building hype, especially probably in like his cult following, just wondering like, oh, what is this? What is the next thing from Andy Anderson? And the fact that they're not telling us is kind of building this anticipation. If you have any news on when these shoes are actually going to be released, or what the timeline looks for them, or if they truly are Andy Anderson's shoe, or if that's just me jumping to a conclusion, drop whatever info you know in the comments below. Now, as far as whether or not Andy Anderson deserves a pro shoe, I think there's going to be a lot of split opinions on that. As far as like the traditional core skateboard community, I think there's going to be a lot of people that say he doesn't deserve it. I mean, you look at somebody like Ashad Ware, who waited so long to get his pro shoe, put out so much street footage, won so many contests, has just proven himself again and again. And when Ashad got his pro shoe, I don't think there was a single person that thought to themselves, Ashad Ware does not deserve it. Now, as far as Andy Anderson goes, I don't think that's the case. He's put out one video part. I don't know if he's really won any big contest. He's kind of his own kind of enigma. With that, I think comes the fact that not everybody's gonna agree with him getting a pro shoe. But at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to whether or not you deserve it or whether or not people think you deserve it anyways. It really just comes down to whether or not a company thinks that you can sell shoes. And I think Andy Anderson proved himself with the Powell flight deck, with his crazy Dorito shape, that he can sell product and that he has something unique to offer. So I think it's irrelevant whether or not he deserves it. It's more relevant whether or not he's actually gonna help skateboard companies like Etnies and Powell and whoever his sponsors are, actually help them thrive. Now, personally, I think this shoe is not the move, not my taste at all. I really doubt I'll ever skate a pair just because of the design choices that they made. And I don't think any other skateboarder would even have a chance at selling such a bizarre looking shoe. But because it is Andy Anderson, it's going to be really interesting to see if this shoe can kind of flourish like his skateboard did. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Do you hate Andy Anderson? Do you love Andy Anderson? Would you buy a pair of these shoes? Let me know in the comments below. Make every single day a Friday, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.